Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years, but only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. mine. But you walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
That's right. The train is coming. The train is coming. Oh, it's here. And we're on it. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. And I'm your host, baby, I'm a star, Lauren Michaels Harris. I did not buy this hat. Let's just keep it clear. My husband went to a Prince immersive thing, and all I got with this was this silly hat. But it's purple, and it matches. So for the very first time I'm wearing it, needless to say, he was quite thrilled when he saw me donning it this morning. Boy, I just want to say, these senior moments, 61 years old on the 4th of July this year I'll be, and I am just apparently head over heels in love with my senior moments because I have them in Gatling gun style. I'm not kidding you. So I'm just embracing it. This morning I left the health club. I got up a half hour early today instead of 4:30. I got up at 4, and I was like, good. I got an extra half hour. I'm at this thing. I ate that whole half hour up going back to the health club to get my phone, which I left on the treadmill. Oh, well, I'm here on time. That's all that matters. Listen, well, and that we're here together. That is the most important thing, seriously. Why? I'll tell you why. Because together we are creating a divine moment in time. That's right. And we're creating divine memories also simultaneously. The wonderful thing about coming together is that it fulfills one of the greatest promises available to all of us. And it is the one that guarantees us that when two or more of us comes together and we've got that same heart set, mindset, that spirit of service to each other, pouring into each other, spiritual magic is the outcome. It is the result. Can I get an amen? Drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. So, couple announcements before I get our guest in today. Johnny E Guacamole. Oops, sorry, avocado. But when I hear his name, I think of my favorite avocado dish, which is guacamole. So you get what happens, right? So anyway, let me see. Oh, so much is happening. So much. Never say too much. Always say so much, because the moment you say too something, too old, too fat, too late, too tired, you're undoing one of the promises that guarantees that we won't be given more than we can handle. And when you say too much in the wrong spot, put two in the wrong spot, something disappears in your world. Trust me. Keep that TOO at the end of a sentence, of a statement, of a comment, where it is inclusive, right? There's something in here for you too. Come on. I got room in this car for you too. Leave two where it belongs. Can I get an amen? So my announcement today is, yesterday I had a string of Romanian calls. I had a call with the U.S. State Department yesterday. Everything is falling in place. Our landing page is up where all the people that are going, all 22 of us so far, are able to go in and start booking with the travel agency for the airfare and the hotel at the JW Marriott downtown Center City, Bucharest will be. Here it is. This is the official movie poster created by Oscar nominee duo filmmakers, the Sailor Brothers. They will be accompanying us there for all 7 days, capturing all the blessings and magic that happens. It is the Legacy of Hope tour. We will be embarking on Romania. We leave May 4th and return May 12th. Not all, but a great majority of my coaching clients and myself are going over to provide hope and to bring some hope home. So, hey, if you want to support us, let me know. There's plenty of ways to do so. The Power of We Symposium, you guys, please send us light, love, and support. We are going to change the world with this one. I've seen it. So, who do we have here today? John E Avocado. Right. Now, we're going to get to the bottom of this name for real. Because I got a feeling it's a stage name, but maybe not. We are not supposed to assume. But anyway, I don't care if it's Johnny E. Guacamole. He's here. I met this young man in St. Louis a few weeks back for the Becoming the Best You experience. And boy, was he inexperienced, and his lovely wife as well met her there. So who is he? Johnny, John space E. Okay. I wonder what that E stands for. He grew up in a very loving home with both parents, 2 older sisters, and a younger brother. He was born and raised in the small city of Quincy, Illinois. Know it well, right around the corner practically from Naperville, where I live, and nestled on the banks of the mighty Mississippi. M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I, river. And he grew up on that river, and much of his youth was spent with his toes in the sand. Now, boy, there's a bunch of stuff in here. This is like a story. I probably should have read this ahead of time. I'm so in. You know what? Oh, his wife's name is Kenya. I love that. There's so much here. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to let John E. Avocado put in the comments what you think. If you already know, you can't play. If you're guessing, like moi, what the E stands for, put in the comments. You know how I do this. Whoever gets it right first gets a book bundle. I'm going to send it out to you. What do you guys want? You want a book bundle? Or you want an Amazon gift card? You can pick. Whoever wins can choose. They can choose. Granted, the Amazon gift card is only for $2.14. So, just saying. It's $2.14 more than you got. I'm kidding. It's a $10 gift card. So, E, I'm going to go with, so it's not John, it's probably Jonathan. Jonathan Edward. I took Edward, so nobody else can claim Edward unless it's already in there. So anyway, we're going to get him in there because he can tell us everything that I wanted to, but you know, I'm feeling that kind of way today. So listen, he's a first timer. Get on your feet virtually. Throw some hearts on the screen as we roll out the virtual red carpet for this intriguing man and this illuminated conversation. Here he comes, John E. Avocado.
Hey everybody, Johnny Avocado here. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, did you hear me that whole time?
I sure did.
You know, StreamYard, I don't know why they do that. Scaring me because I looked down and it said mute. I think it goes mute when I bring you in. But
just for a minute there.
Well, I've done that before, done a whole 6-minute monologue, only to find out nobody could hear me. But apparently you could hear me today. So let me see if anybody guessed what E stands for. Nobody wants to guess.
I'll save it till the end. We'll make sure that I
save it to the end. Save it to the end. Oh, look who's here. Hi, Kenya. You know that girl, don't you?
I know her. She's a pretty cool chick.
Yes. And good morning, everybody else. Hey, Robert Brooker from Canada. How are you? So, John E. Avocado.
Yes, sir.
First of all, tell us about this last name.
We got to know about the name. Okay, that's a pretty good opener. So I'm an advocate for change. One of the things that bothered me about myself and what I would hear from other people is that people don't change. And I knew that not to be true. I'd seen it happen for other people. And I struggled in part of my life to try to make it happen for me. And my wife, Kenya, was helping me try to go down that travel that path. And she had given me a book. She gave me Buzz Aldrin's Mission to Mars book.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. And so that really inspired me. And I started to put together some of my ability to make things happen and put it into intention to something that I had passion about. Before, I'd always done and helped follow other people's missions, help other people get done what they wanted to get done. And I had to try to do this for myself. And that was one of my first inroads into that. And what we did is I kind of put a small organization together. I really got into what we're doing out in space and how we're getting out there and how the civilian populace could help.
Oh, wait a minute. That was a junior moment. You almost said astrology. You meant astronomy. See?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had to check myself there.
That's right. You catch those junior moments and put them in their place.
That's right.
Okay, keep going.
So I was really inspired by him. And so what I did is we wound up going out to meet him. He was at a place not too far from us. So we put this trip together, grabbed a bunch of people, and I'd started what was called the Armchair Astronauts Organization. And it was what we could do to try to help fulfill Buzz Aldrin's dream for us to go back to Mars, what we could do as civilians. And so we went and we met him. And part of the ordeal to meet him was there was a big hubbub at the museum we were at. It was the Air and Space Museum, I think it's called, in Hutchinson, Kansas. And it's the largest private space museum that there is. All the stuff that comes back from space goes actually to there to get reconditioned and goes back out to the other museums. So much of the stuff that you see in the other museums, there's a couple of guys there in Hutchinson, Kansas that rework all that and clean it back up. Anyway, back to my story. So we're sitting at this thing. We were listening to all these old the astronauts speaking, and we'd listened to 3 or 4 of them.
No.
the guys that went to the moon, it was Apollo folks, it was the Moonlander guys. They had the whole group of them.
I'm a bit sensitive about that.
And Buzz Aldrin was on his last bit of the speech. We were in this room, and in the room next to us there was going to be all this food, and there was probably a couple hundred people. We were in this large auditorium. We were listening to these folks talking, and it was hot. And the longer the day went on, the hotter I got and the hungrier we got. And we knew that food was right next door, and I couldn't stand it. There were so many people that wanted to help with this food part of this organization there in Hutchinson that they overflowed into the room that we were in. And there was a gal that had a little stand there, and she was sharing out, she had a Mexican restaurant, and she was sharing out her guacamole and chips. And so I'm sitting there.
I knew it.
So I'm sitting there with my wife, and my wife is looking over, and she decides that she's going to go get some of these chips. And so she gets some of these chips and salsa or chips and guacamole, and she's quietly over here eating these chips. And I had never had guacamole or avocados in my life. And I thought, man, I'm never going to eat that. That was a thought I had in my head. That looks like baby poop. That's got to taste terrible. Why would I ever want that? And so she's sitting over there.
It's like baby food.
Yeah.
You really mean baby poop.
Exactly. Baby poop.
I already know. See, you can't get it past me. Come on.
So she's over there eating these chips, right? And I'm just looking at her. I'm so envious. I'm so hungry. I want some of these damn chips. But all this gal has is guacamole. And so my wife's like, just give it a try. So I finally, out of desperation, necessity is a mother of invention. And out of desperation, I tried this guacamole. And it was the combination of the lady had a great recipe, and my need was high, and it was freaking amazing. And I was already in a state of wonderment being around all these astronauts and all the space and everything that was going on. I got to see Buzz Aldrin. I got to shake his hand and talk to him for a few seconds. And so I was in a state of mind that was really had me open to things. And when she offered me to try this guacamole and I tried it, man, it was life-changing for me. And it wasn't just about what I thought about that guacamole. It cascaded to a whole series of other connections I had in my mind and thoughts that I had that it kind of was a dam that broke for me. And I realized at that moment, if I could reapply this lesson to other aspects of my life, then I could really get somewhere. And that was the catalyst for much of the trajectory of Johnny Avocado. And so when I took a name later, it's almost another story in its own. When I took a name later to help myself and to help others kind of take on a moniker to help them move forward in their life, it's a thing that we've lost in our society. I thought really hard about it, and Avocado was absolutely the name I had to take because that was the catalyst for my change.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have a similar story, but I'm not going to go all into it. I did do the same thing. I changed it. I had peach cobbler once at the beginning when I didn't think I'd like it, and I loved it so much. I changed my full name to peach cobbler, but then people thought I was a pole dancer, a male stripper, so I had to go back to Lauren. But anyway, I get it. I feel you. I'm serious. And I'm so glad I brought you guys know I eat here every day on the show, and I love when somebody can take it and run because it gives me a chance. Today it's oatmeal with blueberries, minus the Truvia. I'm trying to wean myself. And before we go on, I don't know where my manners are. I already saw somebody told me about it. I forgot to introduce my sidekick. She's under contract, so she'll sue me if I don't. Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo's here, as she has been every day for 6 years. She's my sidekick, my Ed McMahon. And this thing, that's the Bella purpose. Not a gimmick, not a prop. It is an opportunity, a reminder, if you will, that just like that bell has a ring to it, so does the truth. So every time you hear it, tune in, because there's some truth running back and forth across this screen, and I don't want you to miss it. Can I get an amen? So let's get started. A lot of stuff up in that bio, my man. I'm going to just say all kind of stuff. I was like, what in the world? this, that, and the other. Tell us how you got started. What did you used to do before you started speaking and motivating and all of that? And what do you consider yourself? I hate that question. Now,
So a motivational speaker is probably what I'm working towards now. So to get to where I am now, a lot of it was me trying to figure out me. Part of my name change was that when I came back I was in the Air Force, and I got to fly around. Thank you.
So was I.
There you go. What'd you do?
What was your AFSC?
I started off as electronics on F-16s, but I wound up becoming a loadmaster on a C-130 before it was over.
Where were you stationed?
Actually, I was in the guard unit out of Peoria, Illinois. But when I went over to a C-130, I wound up getting activated for 4 years to train and fly around and do stuff. So,
well, I was a contract negotiator, Williams Air Force Base, Phoenix, Arizona, 11 years.
Well, thank you for your service, sir.
And you're welcome. Thank you for yours. And I just knocked over this big old thing full of pens and pencils and all kinds of little gimmicky things. So, okay. So let's talk about this because it didn't miss me and I find it very interesting. And let's talk about it. You said, I am working towards, meaning you're not claiming yet that I'm all the way there, sitting on the throne of I am a motivational speaker. So what made you choose that road? A lot of people say, oh, there's no shortage of people purporting to be motivational speakers. What made you think you could do this?
A lot of people came to me. I have a tendency, I'm pretty gregarious and I get to talking and I think a lot and I try to solve problems. That's what I do on the other side. I'm an inventor by nature. So I've worked in the engineering field. I work with inventors. I work in tech. And so I've kind of got, one of those systems mind is I've actually have two minds. I'm very passionate and emotional, but I'm also very logical and system oriented as well. And so I kind of work in both of those separate and try to bring them together. And oh my goodness, what was the question, Lauren?
What made you feel like you could really pull it off?
So when I started to go on this, everybody calls it a journey, and that's what it was for me as well. When I started figuring these things out for myself, how to really make me do. As a young man, I was really able to produce. I was really able to perform. And one of the things that I found out, long story short, is that I wasn't performing for myself. I was performing for others. And when I was operating under those mantles, there were all these rules and organizational constructs that I operated under, all my defaults, right? That made me perform. And then when I got out on my own, I didn't have those constraints. And I allowed my creativity to override my productivity, and it got me into trouble. And it got me behind where I wanted to be, and I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be. And so I kind of had to reconnoiter the two. And so while going through this process, I would talk to others oftentimes about what I knew or what I understood. And people tend to kind of gather toward me. I talk, and people come around. And I don't want to put it into the wrong context, but I have oftentimes like Jesus moments where you're standing there talking to one dude, and then the next thing you know, there's 20, 30 people standing there listening to what you got to say.
Oh yeah. And
that's never what your intention is, and suddenly you find yourself preaching to people who are listening to what you had to say. Correct. And so I say I'm in transition because I feel that there's so much more that I can and should and I need to learn to be responsible with what being an influence on people is, being a speaker. And I think I have many of the skills, but I need to continue to hone them and make sure that the outcome that I'm looking for is what I'm getting. I went to a couple of things when I first started this, and I found there's a term, I guess, in the industry that I wasn't aware of that's called leaving people in the blood. And that is what I ran into 2 or 3 revivals, I guess is what you would call them, that I went to trying to figure this out for myself. And people really whipped everybody into a frenzy, but they didn't have any information for them and they didn't leave them with anything. All these people were just in some emotional distress, and then it was over. And this happened like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. Did you
say leaving people in the blood?
Yeah, that's what that's what I've heard of it referred to.
I never heard that. Oh no, that sounds like some Freddy Krueger shit.
Right.
I don't want to be leaving people in no blood.
Right. And so that was what I ran into and they would just put these people into a high emotional state. And I don't know if it was a cliffhanger to get them to come back or quite what the deal was. But I decided, man, I needed to be responsible with this. If I was going to get people to pay attention to me, I needed to make sure I had a good message, that I had information for them to have, and that they went away motivated. Right. There was a couple of 3 things I wanted to hit on that. So when I say I'm in the process, that's what I'm continuing to do. I'm continuing to define that message and refine my ability to present it to somebody.
Now I'm going to say something here at this point. This is the coach in me coming out, by the way.
Please do.
You do know that there's a difference between a motivational speaker and an inspirational speaker.
Correct.
Do you know what the difference is?
Tell me.
Okay, gladly. A motivational speaker is a person who reminds people, in most cases, of things they've already learned. They've just separated themselves or tossed it into some kind of proverbial junk drawer. For instance, if you were on stage and you said, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him
drink.
Everybody's going to say that. You just motivated them by reminding them. But when you come in with those avocadoisms, things they haven't quite heard quite that way, as Arsenio Hall used to say, things that make you go, When people say, I never quite thought of it like that before. That's when you move to the next level and you become inspirational. That's for everybody, because you don't have to be, you can be an inspirational speaker and never hit a stage that has stairs to it. Why? Or a flat floor in front of chairs. Because when you're in the grocery store line, when you are waving and speaking to someone you pass on the street that you'll never most likely see again, you can be an inspiration. And you didn't think it to them. You hear me thinking? You spoke it to them. Therefore, right. You are a speaker. Now, the reason I say this, Johnny, and to all of you, why it's so important to me, is because when we understand that we all have that ability, that gift, that divine gift to change people through speech, we are automatically tying ourselves, remembering ourselves to the most wonderful thing of all, and it is our divine birthright known as dominion. Because we are the only creatures in this world gifted with speech, and everything that is not of this world must go into, when we say do this or do that, through dominion, they do it. So that means angelic beings, spiritual beings. How do you think you get our pets to do it? Go sit down. Fetch. You can even do it with plants. You can fuse them and prune them and tell them and show them how to grow a certain way. But a lot of people make a mistake of trying to use that gift of speech on other creatures with the same gift of speech. And that's wherein it doesn't work. So what are your goals, Johnny? Now, wait a minute. See, I was looking at the screen. I was saying, should I say just John? But you really go by Johnny, right?
Johnny, yep.
It's so clever. I'm watching you. I'm telling you. I love that you get it about doing what we need to do to get the world to stop and take a look at us. Because when they do that, they consider it, well, let me stop for what I want. And that's when we stick our foot in the door and we make sure they leave with what they need. See, that's what it is. So tell me this, because I love your shirts. You got a thing. That's your thing. And with the shirts, because I got a piece in my brand that is similar, that I ain't going to say it, but it's in there. But let's talk about when you manifest, dream of where you would like to be, let's say just 5 years from now. What do you see for yourself? And how do you see yourself pouring into the world?
I've got a couple of things that I'm trying to finish putting together. Of course, I'm trying to put it into book form, how I see this personal development. That's the area that I work in. I work in personal development. I chased down positive psychology when I was trying to solve situations and concerns for myself. A lot of that information was hidden within the sales and marketing industries. They were the individuals that had the money and had the return on investment to go chase down that information, try to find out what motivated people. So I went down that lane for quite a while, helping people figure out the psychology of sale. And I train and I teach that a little bit on the what do I want to say over on the professional side. And then on the personal side, I teach how you can bring that and implement that into your personal life. And so my long-term goal is to continue to refine my message and my dream plan do methodology. For us to succeed at anything, success is doing the thing that you want to do. It's like living with intention and following the three rules: to dream, to plan, and to do, right? You got to know what you want to do. You got to figure out how you're going to do it. And then you got to make yourself do it. So I would say that in 5 years, I'd like to be out there reaching people with my message and letting them know that people can change. You really can change. You have to intend that you want to do it. You got to get whatever it is that works for you, because there's different advice for different people. I want to be an advocate and a resource for folks to come to and get that information.
Perfect answer. Now, you've got a piece of the formula, the recipe, if you will, that a lot of people, well, I've met a lot of them, let's put it that way, who are attempting to get to the same place that you and I are trying to get to. And what I'm speaking to is, and I hope you understand how blessed you are to have a partner, a wife, a mate, who is supportive and understands it, because it speaks directly to the meaning of being evenly yoked, And I've seen so many potential speakers with tons of potential that abandon ship because the person they've tied themselves to may start with some support, but as they start to rise, you get pulled away. Life changes, you see things coming you could have never planned because of the law of attraction, so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. So talk about that. How did you bring that into your family dynamic when you chose, when you were chosen for this and then chose in return? Because doing this work is not a job. It's not a career. It is a calling. It is a divine appointment. So how did you bring it in, or did she bring it in?
So I'll tell you the truth to that. So when my wife and I met, actually we met in a bar. She picked me up. So it was after I was in the Air Force and I was trying to transition back to civilian life, and they teach you how to solve problems, and it doesn't translate very well into the civilian world. And you want to go and stamp the problem out, and that's just not how it quite works on this side of the fence. And so it took a while for me to start to figure some of that out. And I'll be quite honest, I fell into some serious bouts of depression. There were times that I thought about suicide. There were times that I thought about quite a few things. And wasn't just...
You mean after you decided to do this work?
Oh, no, this is still preemptively. This is before I got into it.
Okay,
this is as I left the Air Force and before I started to find my calling in this.
Sure.
I struggled with that quite a bit. Depression hit me pretty hard. And it wasn't just something from leaving the Air Force. It was something I carried with me from my childhood. Much of how I was performed was based upon shame and goading, it was traditional and all that kind of thing. I operated under a lot of defaults as opposed to under my own authority. And so it caused me a lot of consternation. And when I got out, I just couldn't make it all meet. And I was in a bar one day writing. I wrote a lot at the time, poetry and literature. And I was writing on this napkin fiercely. All these folks had come up to me, people that when I was a kid in high school wouldn't have even talked to me. But after I came back from the Air Force with confidence and assuredness and had done a few things, then all these people suddenly had interest in me. And I felt like I hadn't changed at all. But all these people looked at me from the outside like I was somebody totally different. Well, the truth is that on the exterior, I had just followed somebody else's plan. And so I looked shiny and bright on the outside. On the inside, I still had all this trouble and all this turmoil. All the things that drove me to do the things that I was doing were all still there. And so it really put me at a disjunction. And long story short, my wife interrupted me at the moment when I was writing on all these napkins. And she looked down at me and she said, "What are you writing?" And the only word that could come to my mind, because I was writing furiously, I was so mad at the world, was that it was lies. That all this shit that I had just written down on this napkin meant nothing, because when I looked up at her face and she smiled down at me, this girl I didn't know, that didn't know me from anybody, who just looked at me and took the time to take the time, was something I hadn't seen in so long. And so she kind of, we'll cut to the chase. She kind of saved my life. I'll admit to that. I was in a more than just downward spiral. I was pointed in a direction that wasn't going to be sustainable. And she interrupted that. And so I account to a lot of my successes to her interrupting me right there.
So let me ask you real quick. Sorry to butt in.
No,
this is important. So at this juncture in your life right now, today, right now in this moment, do you look at that moment that she stepped in and asked you that life-changing question? Do you see that as coincidence, lucky, or was that a divine appointment?
So I see. So this is actually a question I throw out there, when I talk sometimes. What's the difference between fate and destiny? And I think fate is a very real thing. The world is set up for a preclusion, and we're caught into it to a degree. Destiny is what you decide to do with that fate, what you're going to do with that opportunity. And so I think it was both. It was fated that she and I were to meet, and it was my destiny to decide to take her hand when she reached it out. I could have just denied my destiny. I could have done something else and kept going in the direction I was going, but that was definitely a moment of destiny.
Well, now we're getting there. Listen, we're going to take just a brief pause, pay some bills. When we come back, because I've been getting downloads since the very beginning of this interview, and I'm being told that we're going to go backwards, and we're going to go back to your origin story. They tell me that Little John is where it all began. They tell me that a lot of the world that you live in and the things that you live today were manifested through Little One, who went through a lot of shit. If you're okay with talking about that, I'd like to touch on that when we return, how it all gets started. Because as you all know out there, I'm a firm believer that the earlier in life, when trauma and stuff starts attacking that innocent child, it only means, and if you wait long enough, it'll be proven to you that your name will echo through the halls of history because of that. We're going to get deeper in just a moment. Great time to share out the broadcast. There's a lot of conversation ahead. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back. This world is changing more and more every day, and we've decided to change right along with it. My name is Dr. Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the president of Trajectory TV Network. At Trajectory, our vision is to provide a creative platform for top content creators and storytellers from around the globe. We're also dedicated to providing this world with content that is healing, educational, empowering, exciting, and above all else, entertaining and transparent. So right now, I invite all of you who believe yourselves to be global game changers to use the link found here and simply take a chance. Schedule a virtual chat where you'll have the opportunity to share your vision for your very own global television show with me, the network president. So use that link, and together, let's begin changing and healing this world, one story at a time. And remember, whether you have years of experience in front of the camera or zero experience, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is your desire to share great content through television and a willingness to share it with passion and with purpose. You might ask, how do I know if I've fallen in love with my purpose and my purpose has fallen in love with me? It's easy when you've lost your voice because you just can't stop talking about it. I'll see you soon.
You can navigate the legal and emotional journey of divorce and exit a marriage the way you entered it, with mindfulness, love, and respect. Solace Divorce Mediation is a full-service law practice helping couples focus on the health and well-being of children and their forever co-parenting family. Our streamlined divorce journey offers flat fees with an estimated completion time frame of 2 to 4 months. If you or a friend need us, visit solacedivorce.com.
Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lord Michael Harrison. Before we get our incredible guests back in here, John E. Avocado, little heads up for you. If you're ready to level up, if you're ready to lose yet another thing that doesn't serve you, i.e., Mountain Dew, Diet Coke, Red Bull, you name it, I got something for you. It's right here in this can. This is V8. When I made the choice a few years ago to get rid of Diet Coke, I needed something to replace it with, and I wanted to level up. This did it for me. 2.5 servings of vegetables in every can, only 60 calories, and it's 2.5. Did I say that already? Yes, 100% vegetable juice. Now, it's easy to find. Head down the juice aisle at your local grocer, and you will find it. Comes in a variety of flavors. I like the original, but they're spicy, and a couple others. Low sodium, to name one. So when you check out, even though they may look at you like you're doggone crazy, tell them Lauren sent you. You'll be glad you did. V8. Pick up some today. John E. Avocado, pick up a white paging phone. Oh, there you are. How are you? We're back. Now,
I'm doing really good. I wish you'd give me a V8, but I got my coffee going on instead.
Me too. Me too. Got that protein shake over here. And a Tangelo over to the left. No, so I wanted to get in this last 15 minutes or so of the interview. Apart, I got a feeling, because I was getting the beckoning through download, that we should go back, double back, and let you talk about whatever it was you went through as a young boy. It was the wall, it created the wall that you had to tear down to get to the man that we're looking at today. Somebody needs to hear that story. So I'm going to dip out for a second and let you have the floor, and go ahead and just talk to the people.
Sure. So it's like a hidden tragedy, really. You know, it's unusual. Like I said, I grew up in a very loving home, great family, great parents, great siblings, had support. I had people around me. The thing was that, and they were very capable and very educated, very well-intended people, all of them. The thing is that they thought they knew what was best. And unfortunately, every once in a while, an exception comes along. And I probably have or had undiagnosed childhood ADHD. And in the house I grew up in, man, you didn't go to the hospital if you weren't bleeding. So the thought that you might have something going on in your head that you couldn't take care of was looked as a weakness, was looked at something that needed to be fixed and taken care of. And so my father wasn't, ultra alpha male or anything like that. He was a traditional guy, conservative family. And he thought that, a certain way to raise a kid was how you were supposed to raise a kid. And it did. The problem was the process versus product. They wanted a certain outcome, and they were sure that if they followed this process, that this would be the outcome that they would get. And as a kid growing up with ADHD, now the reason that I believe I had this is undiagnosed is kind of my memories kind of fit into two categories. They're emotional memories or they're logical memories. And it seemed very much so that the two halves of myself were very disconnected when I was a child. I thought, I'm not going to get into it. But man, you question and wonder all the things that's wrong with you, right? And my father used some words and some terms because he was a foreman, right? He was an electrician. And so he spent all of his time dealing with other dudes, right? And there's a way that you operate in that society, and some of it is brashness, some of it's boldness, and some of it is the way that you talk to people. And one of the first things that you learn growing up in the construction trade is that you got to have a thick skin, because that's the first way that somebody's going to get one over on you. Because when there's only so much leverage, you got to figure where you can poke somebody and get the most out of them. And on the construction site, the words that you use are usually the first way to start things. And so my father, having had spent most of his time talking to adult men, would on occasion, in his attempt to try to man me up, would speak to me not mean or angrily, but almost as if he were my foreman. And the words and the terms that somebody like that uses to you or against you, is something on a job site you can walk away from. You can go, oh, that guy's a shithead, or that guy don't see it like I do. And you can go home and get away from that. When it's in the home and you can't ever get away from it, it programs you. And so through that process, I could see how I was being programmed, and I couldn't do anything about it because that was what I was taught was supposed to be happening to me, that the thoughts I had were wrong and there needed to be room for other thoughts. And so through that process, I saw myself do that. I saw myself turn off parts of me or hide parts of me to let room for other people's thoughts in there. And it developed in me this type of subservience where following somebody else's plan, living in somebody else's world, to be successful in that world, you had to follow their rules. And so through that process, through being a child and going into the military, I found that I became very successful when I followed the rules of the world that I was living in. Part of that process for me as a kid, it was hard on me. I didn't have the tools that I needed to fully process all that. So it was essentially me killing or putting away or dismissing parts of myself so that I could perform in the expectation. Tradition and obligation and shame would probably be the words that I would use that stood out the most to me. Although people in my life didn't constantly shame me or put me down or discourage me. There was actually, my mother was such a wonderful advocate for me. But the weight of words don't all carry the same strength. And, one negative word can knock you down, like 100 positive words can't sometimes. And so it took me a long time to get that, to begin to take that authority for myself and realize that I can be successful if I can make me do it. And that was where I started to get into the self-improvement, the positive psychology, understanding how I make me move, motivators, what makes people do what they do, and the psychology of it. And so I can kind of now, as an adult man, look back and see what had happened to me. It was, disconcerting at the time as a kid. It tore you up. Now it still hurts, to look back at it. But you got to move past that and just, see what you're going to get next, right? So yeah, I don't know quite where else to take that, Lauren. But
you took it exactly where it needed to go. I'm gonna tell you something. First of all, kudos, because I knew once if I stepped out and just let you go, you were gonna go to that place which you went to, and someone needed, most likely could have even been me, needed to hear what you just brought. So I want to thank you first and foremost from the depths of my spirit for being so vulnerable. I felt it when you stepped on that floor filled with shards of glass with your bare spiritual feet, but you chose to walk across it to be of service to us anyway. It's never easy, but it does get easier. And so I want to just thank you for that one, because you're right, Johnny. You're absolutely right. So many of us don't understand because we're impressionable back at that time when we are stepping into that age of accountability, but we're trying to please everyone. So many people I have met along my journey, they think that the only thing is they don't know how to say no. Well, there's also the flip side, because it is never about just one thing, but they also simultaneously, in many cases, don't know when to say yes.
Yep.
And between those two, you can null and void a lot of purpose within your journey. So give us a couple tips, Johnny, that you used, continue to use, and continue to wash, rinse, and repeat in your journey to make sure you stay focused, because we're always vulnerable for sliding back into that mindset that it took so long to claw our way through, not around, not under, not over, but through. Because when you go through something, that's when you truly know something. So talk about that. What advice would you give someone who is dealing with that very shade of the paint strip?
So one of the easiest things that I advocate for when I talk to people and I coach them about working through some of this, a great tool, probably one of the best tools on the planet is what's called roles. If you recognize and understand the role that you're supposed to be playing at any moment, then you can perform to that role to a greater degree than you could if you tried to define it individually. And what a role might be would be like if you think of yourself as a father, or if you think of yourself as a business owner, or if you think of yourself as a brother or a sister or a friend or a coach or whatever it is that you have that you're trying to perform as, recognize that that's a bit of a role that you're taking on in that moment. And by doing so, there's all these preconceived notions that we have about what a role is. A father is supposed to act this way. You're supposed to do this thing. And you have all those already in your head. They're all a bunch of defaults that you'll operate under. So if you can recognize the situation that you're in and what role best suits what you're trying to do, you can take on that mantle, take on that role, and it puts all of those defaults into play for you. And one of the greatest things that I've probably in my journey here is recognizing that people don't understand the difference between discipline and habit. And when their habit fails them, they attack themselves for not being disciplined. And if they're not disciplined enough, they attack themselves for not having habit. Well, the truth is that those are two separate things and they kind of work separately. A habit is of the subconscious. This is the thing I'm going to do by my default. Discipline is my awareness. That's the thing I'm going to choose to do in the moment. And so your awareness informs your habit by how many times you do something consciously or unconsciously, the number of iterations. It's all about time and the number of times it happens. You find it in your brain easier. Iteration writes to habit, and then habit is your default that you do again and again. So people who feel like they're not disciplined, well, the problem is you're just not educating your habit correctly so that it works for you. The other thing that I would say is I work in the dream plan do, the 3-step method to get anything done. You got to know what it is that you want to do, a clear defined purpose, just like any good military plan. You got to know what it is that you're after so that you can put all of the correct energies and the correct focus on it. And every time you get lost in the storm, if you've got that star to set your eye by, every time your head comes above water, you can set back on that star and you can swim toward it again. So it doesn't matter how rough it gets. You got to know where you're going to go. And then you got to make a plan, a life of intention. You have to decide, you have to command your resources. And that one of those first ones is that hard one, is that self-assessment. Where am I? What have I got? How much money have I got? How much time have I got? How much talent have I got? Those 3 T's, time, talent, treasure. What am I going to do with them? How am I going to amass those resources so they're going to get me where I want to go? And that third thing is do. This is motivation. This is understanding you and how you work. And how you work is different at any one point in time. We go through phases of survival, success, and significance. You got to kind of recognize what it is that you're after and how you need to perform to get the most out of yourself to get the thing you want to get. Living a life of intention requires that you motivate yourself to go do the thing you want. And we can start at the beginning. If we have a good dream that we're passionate about, it will carry us through all the plans and it will make sure we get to the end and when we want to do. Purpose your passion, people.
Oh, you said purpose and passion.
Purpose your passion.
See, that's 2 of the 3 P's in my program. Purpose, passion, and patience. The third piece, because divine timing demands that we wait on it. That is proof that you're willing to bend to the will of what is greater than you. So don't forget that, Johnny. Boy, you threw it out there today. I'm going to give you that. Let's talk about where people can find you. Scrolling along the bottom is Johnny's Facebook page, and you can go there. LinkedIn has already been dropped inside the comment section at the top of the thread for ease of convenience if that's your jam. But if you just want to head over to John E Avocado, I was splitting it wrong with my eyes. I was like, volcano. Right. John, because I thought, anyway, johnnyavocado.com is where you can go to find out an experience, be baptized, if you will, in the totality, the full breadth of Johnny's work. So what are your plans? Anything coming up? Are you on the road anywhere? Speaking somewhere where people might be able to come virtually or in person to experience you?
Absolutely. So I have a monthly meetup I usually have it down at the Parlor in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're
Parlor?
yeah.
With who? Nellie Olson? And Laura Ingalls Wilder, the parlor.
The parlor.
It's the Waltons. Okay, what do you mean the parlor? You don't mean
the parlor. It's a local eatery. It's kind of like an adult food court. It's got 3 bars, a bunch of different food places. It's a lot of fun.
It's like an adult bookstore. No, I'm just kidding. You said food court. Well, adult food court. What does that mean? There's no desserts?
Oh no. There's a bar on every level, and then there's probably about 2 or 3 eateries on each level. It's like 3 levels high, and they bring in also. It's a place for new eateries to try to get established before they go try to find a hard point out in the world. It's kind of like a incubator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we need a parlor here. They got
right.
A bar on every level. That's my kind of a. I'm just gonna say. So when is now you in Quincy?
No, I live in Kansas City, Missouri, is where we've moved.
You're
to.
in Kansas City now.
Correct.
Will you be at the August Becoming the Best You event?
Absolutely, I will.
I'll see you there.
Perfect.
See you there. And
I got to try to get to Romania with you if I can make this happen.
Are you serious?
Man, when is it? I don't know if I'll be able to. That's pretty soon. I don't know if I'll be able to cut it.
Oh goodness, we leave May 4th, and we come back on the 12th, and every day. The universe, God, source, spirit, it's like they're taking this thing and just pulling it like taffy. It changes and grows and becomes even greater every single day. We have no idea. I've already started seeing us all running up on the stage when we get that Oscar. I kid you not. I try to stay away from that. Like, okay, don't be stupid, Lauren. But I'm telling you, I've just given into it. I've surrendered. Whatever God has for us, I want some. That's how it is. But we'd love to have you. We would love to have you. We can talk about that. I want to thank you and stay backstage. I want to yell at you about a couple of things real quick. I do have a 9:00 call, but he'll stay on the line. Listen, for all of you out there, thank you so much for being with us today and every day. I invite you to join me tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central, God willing, right out on the front porch. Yet again, where together we fulfill that promise that I mentioned at the top of the hour, where 2 or more of us comes together, and spiritual magic is what we receive, just like we did today. Johnny, I want to thank you again. Did you have a final thought you wanted to leave with everyone before we get out?
Oh man, I got to leave with my moniker. Well, so we got to share my last name, right? Or my middle name. Everybody. So I got a plug before we get there. So I do my parlor thing the last Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, the last Wednesday of the month. Meet me at the parlor, and then I also teach personal development courses. I got another one getting ready to start. You can join me live or online, either one, and reach out to all my social media and follow me, folks. I'm always trying to connect to people and try to help you get down the road. So middle initial. What does everybody think it is?
Edward.
So I changed my name. So there was a ceremony. So I did change my name to Avocado, and I changed my middle name while I was at it. So you think it's Edward?
No, who would change it to Edward? Unless you're like in the royal family. They like those Henry.
So I'll give you another guess. What's another one?
Enrique.
I should have gone with that. No, it's John Elvis Avocado.
Should have known the hair. Okay, John Elvis. Now we'll save that story for the next time you're on, and I certainly hope that there is a next time. Listen, all my best to Kenya and all of the people in your sacred inner circle, and thank you again. Great job today. Listen, you guys, get out there and be the very best you can be. Try to be the change you desire to see in others and watch what happens. Get out. I'll see you. And in the meantime, don't you dare forget, I love you and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks again. Thanks. Great job.
Buddy.
Great job.
Go, man.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign. sweet of mine.